The tariffs will also hurt consumers around the world. The impact will be immediate. Millions of people will face higher grocery bills. Medication will become more expensive, as will transportation. Inflation will rise, especially affecting the most vulnerable citizens. All businesses, both large and small, will suffer from the very first day from great uncertainty and disrupted supply chains to burdensome bureaucracy. The cost of doing business with the United States will increase significantly. And what's more, there seems to be no order in the disorder. Europe still needs gas, but it is already turning away from the US. In 2025, Europe's energy situation is complex. Power prices remain unstable. Renewable energy is growing but not quickly enough. Still, the political message from Brussels is clear: no new gas deals, not even with allies. The EU's 2022 plan to phase out Russian gas by 2027 was originally about energy security. But this year, that plan quietly expanded to include reducing dependence on all foreign fossil fuels, including American LNG. Europe isn't walking away because it's ready. It's walking away because it chooses to. That gap between political ambition and physical reality is creating the conditions for the next energy shock. When Russian gas supplies collapsed, US LNG saved Europe from an energy crisis. From Texas to Louisiana, American exporters invested over $120 billion to expand LNG terminals, shipping capacity, and long-term supply contracts with Europe. These deals were meant to last for decades. But now, Germany is signaling it won't renew existing contracts after 2030. France is turning to nuclear and hydrogen. Spain recently announced new green goals that exclude gas entirely. The message: thanks for the help, we're done. Except Europe still isn't energy secure. Meanwhile, the US has spent billions building an export system that might not have buyers. One US gas executive put it bluntly in a recent Financial Times interview. We built for a crisis. Europe's treating us like we're in a crisis. Germany was once the cornerstone of US LNG in Europe. Between 2022 and 2024, it rushed to build 4 new LNG import terminals, signed 20-year contracts with US suppliers, and even declared American gas a bridge fuel for the future. But in April 2025, everything changed. The German government announced it would not sign any new long-term gas contracts beyond 2030, not with Russia, not with Qatar, and not with the United States. We don't want a second dependency, said Germany's energy minister. Gas is not our future. That includes American gas. This stunned U.S. exporters and unsettled Wall Street. Shares of Cheniere, the top U.S. LNG exporter, dropped 7% overnight. Gulf Coast terminal expansions now appear risky. The Biden to Trump transition has only increased uncertainty around future U.S.-EU energy relations. Germany was expected to be the reliable buyer. On paper, Europe has locked in dozens of LNG contracts with American suppliers, 20-year terms, fixed volumes, billions of dollars. But here's the catch, and U.S. exporters are starting to say it aloud: none of these deals are as binding as they seem. That's because many of the contracts were structured through intermediaries, state utilities, and traders, not directly with governments. They often include flexibility in volume, resale clauses, or opt-outs. In other words, if demand drops, policy changes, or storage fills up, Europe can simply stop buying. A May 2025 analysis by S&P Global found that only 38% of U.S.-EU LNG contracts are locked in under strict, enforceable terms. The rest are vulnerable to political shifts, market changes, or policy reversals. With Brussels aiming to reduce gas use by 2040 and no legal penalties for early exits, the risk is not just theoretical, it's real. American exporters now face the possibility of operating fully built, multi-billion-dollar terminals without guaranteed customers. On Wall Street, this is called forward risk. In Texas and Louisiana, they call it panic. Behind the scenes, several U.S. LNG exporters have slowed or paused expansion projects. Venture Global's Plaquemines Phase 2 is delayed. Next decade's Rio Grande expansion is in quiet restructuring talks. So is Sempra's Gulf Coast project. Investment arms seeking market flexibility clauses are now being included in all new contracts. Why? Because investors dislike uncertainty, and Europe has suddenly become unpredictable. Executives are not raising public concerns, at least not yet. However, one private memo to investors leaked in April 2025 made it clear: Europe is now our highest reputation customer and our highest reversal risk. That's a dangerous combination. The message is clear: the LNG boom may be reaching its peak. and the next phase could lead to oversupply. In France, President Macron has made his intentions known. In February, France updated its national energy plan. The country aims to build 14 new nuclear reactors by 2040, in new LNG purchases by 2035, and transition all residential heating to electric systems by 2030. These plans are not just theoretical, they are progressing quickly. France's EDF and Total Energies have stopped negotiating LNG contracts beyond 2030, including with U.S. exporters. Spain, once the largest LNG hub in Europe, is also shifting course. In March, the country's energy ministry announced a halt to new LNG infrastructure projects after 2026. It is already expanding green hydrogen and solar capacity. Spain's main gas utility, Naturgy, has started reselling U.S. LNG cargo on the spot market. This isn't sabotage, it's a transition. France and Spain aren't just moving away from gas, they're replacing it rapidly and without waiting for external approval. This differs from the panic of 2022. The current shift isn't driven by fear, but by a deliberate strategy, and U.S. gas is being affected the most. It began subtly, but by May 2025, the signs are obvious. In April, a leaked internal EU memo showed Brussels is pushing for more flexible LNG contract terms, language U.S. trade representatives described as commercially hostile. Then came the Energy Security Forum in Berlin, where U.S. negotiators expected renewed commitments to transatlantic gas cooperation. Instead, they were met with silence. There's no formal breakdown, said one U.S. diplomat, but Europe no longer speaks like a long-term buyer. At the same time, European officials are growing uneasy about U.S. export priorities. The U.S. is sending more LNG to Asia, where prices are higher. Exporters have failed to meet delivery schedules due to domestic bottlenecks. Washington's LNG export pause in February 2025 for environmental review also unsettled Brussels. One EU official told Politico in April, "We can't build our future on American LNG." The politics shift too quickly. The supply is too profit-driven. It's not a conflict, but it's not unity either. And in energy policy, uncertainty carries risk. Despite EU sanctions and the 2022 cutoff, Russian gas never fully disappeared from Europe. In fact, in Q1 2025, Russian LNG imports to Europe rose by 36%, largely through Arctic LNG projects. Countries like Spain, Belgium, and France still receive Russian gas that doesn't come via pipelines. This happens because sanctions target pipeline flows, not seaborne LNG, and companies are using third-party traders to obscure the origin. But the deeper shift is strategic. Russia no longer aims to dominate Europe's energy system. It's now trying to erode the U.S. position quietly, legally, and economically. In March 2025, Gazprom launched a shadow LNG resale platform in Asia, offering discounted gas to global buyers, some of whom reroute the cargo back to Europe. Meanwhile, Moscow is increasing LNG exports to Turkey, Serbia, and Hungary, 3 EU-linked countries that are pushing back against Brussels' energy transition goals. This is not a gas war. It's a quiet, retreat and replace strategy. And the new target for displacement is U.S. LNG, not Russian pipelines. As the U.S. faces uncertainty over LNG, and the EU reconsiders its energy direction, one country is securing its long-term position: China. Since January 2025, China has signed $40 billion in new LNG import contracts, many lasting into the 2040s. Chinese companies are co-investing in Qatar Energy, Arctic LNG 2 in Russia, and Mozambique LNG. Even European LNG cargo originally destined for Spain or France has recently been rerouted to Chinese ports. China's strategy is clear: buy cheaply, lock in deals, and secure everything the West is hesitating over. And it's succeeding. In May, Bloomberg reported that China surpassed the EU to become the world's largest LNG importer. For the first time since 2021, Europe appears to be transitioning, the US is pausing for review, and China is purchasing the future. One shipment at a time. By 2023, US LNG exports had surged, making it the world's largest exporter.